The court mocked a cat princess's human husband until he won the alpha trials. Everywhere he looked, he saw the court, tall, slender beings with fur that shimmered like liquid silver and eyes that glowed like precious gems. They moved with grace, with the confidence of creatures who believed themselves the center of the universe. And here he was, a human, short, soft-handed, and clumsy, standing in the middle of the most important room on their planet. The cat princess, Lyra, smiled gently at him. Her golden eyes shone with warmth, but Ethan could see the worry hidden beneath them. "Don't mind them," she whispered, brushing a silver strand of hair behind her pointed ear. "They will mock, but you must stay calm. Show them who you are." Ethan tried to nod, but his throat was dry and his hands trembled. He had trained for this day in small ways, learning the customs, the language, even the proper bow. Yet standing here, he felt like a child again, in front of an audience that would not forgive mistakes. The high court erupted in laughter as he took his first hesitant steps. A tall noble, his fur the color of midnight, stepped forward. "Look at this human," he hissed, his voice sharp and mocking. "Does the princess not know the meaning of unworthy?" Ethan swallowed hard. He had expected whispers, perhaps quiet snickers, but not this open mockery. He forced a smile, bowed carefully, and said, I am honored to be here." The court erupted again, louder this time. One of the younger nobles, a girl with fur striped like autumn leaves, stepped forward and pointed at him. "Honored?" she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Do you even know how to wear a formal cloak, or how to greet a cat properly?" Ethan looked down at the long, flowing robe the princess had given him. He had tried it on earlier, but every fold and knot felt alien. He fumbled with it now, tripping slightly over the hem. The court laughed until tears filled their glowing eyes. Lyra stepped closer, her presence a small shield against the ridicule. She laid her hand lightly on his shoulder. "Ethan, it is okay," she whispered. "Let them laugh. Soon they will see." Ethan nodded, though doubt gnawed at him. He loved Lyra more than anything in the world, but he could not stop thinking about how different he was from these beings. Their reflexes were faster, their minds sharper in ways he did not understand. Even simple gestures of respect were foreign to him. The king, a massive feline being with silver fur and eyes like molten gold, rose from his throne. The hall fell silent immediately. The king's gaze swept over Ethan, sharp and critical. "Human," he said, his voice deep and rumbling like distant thunder. "You claim to be worthy of Princess Lyra, yet look at you. You stumble, you fumble, you are weak in ways our species cannot endure. What proof do we have that you are more than a curiosity?" Ethan's heart raced. He could feel every eye on him. He wanted to shrink into the floor, to disappear. But then he remembered Lyra's hand on his shoulder, her trust in him. He straightened as best he could and met the king's gaze. I may not be strong like you," Ethan said, his voice trembling but determined, "and I may not know all your customs yet. But I learn fast, and I will do whatever it takes to protect Princess Lyra. That is proof enough." There was a pause. The court muttered among themselves, some sneering, some whispering. No one expected a human to speak so boldly. The king's tail swished slowly behind him. "Very well," he said at last. "We shall see. There is a series of trials, the alpha trials, that determine a being's worth in our court. Those who fail are dishonored. Those who succeed are recognized as leaders among us." Ethan felt his stomach drop. Trials. He had heard rumors of them, terrifying stories from the other humans who had traveled here. They were not mere tests of strength. They were contests of mind, body, and spirit. Even the strongest of Narkal had failed. "And you, human," the king continued, "are welcome to attempt them, though I assure you none of your kind has ever succeeded. The court will watch closely, and your every failure will be noted." The court laughed again, louder this time, some of them even throwing small, harmless allusions that made Ethan appear to stumble and trip further. He bit back frustration and fear, refusing to react. After the announcement, the court dispersed, leaving Ethan alone with Lyra in a quiet hallway lined with glowing crystals. "You are not just a human, Ethan," Lyra said softly. "You are extraordinary in ways they cannot see yet. Humans adapt. You find solutions where others see only obstacles. That is your gift, trust it." Ethan tried to absorb her words, but doubt lingered. I don't know if I can do this. They are so fast, so strong, so smart, and me, I'm just human." Lyra cupped his face in her hands. "That is exactly why you can do it. You are underestimated. You will surprise them and they will never forget you." For the rest of the day, Ethan explored the palace under Lyra's guidance. He practiced bowing correctly, learning the subtle gestures of respect, and tried to memorize the names of the nobles he would face. Every small success built his confidence a little, but it was fragile. He knew the Alpha trials would push him far beyond anything he had ever faced. That evening, the princess led him to the palace gardens. The air was cool, and strange alien flowers glowed softly under the twin moons. Lyra turned to him, her expression serious. "Ethan," she said, "the first trial is not about strength. It is about courage and perception. You must navigate the labyrinth of shadows. It is a maze that tests the mind, spirit, and instinct. Those who enter alone often do not return." Ethan swallowed hard. His heart pounded in his chest. "And I have to go in alone?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, but remember what I said. Humans adapt. You can see patterns others miss. You can think in ways they cannot. Use that." The next morning, the court gathered in the central arena to witness the first trial. Ethan followed the other contestants, most of them tall, elegant, and confident. They whispered among themselves, their voices a mixture of curiosity and mockery. When it was his turn, the court erupted in laughter. "Look at him," one noble hissed. "He will be eaten by shadows before he even understands the maze." Ethan felt fear, but he remembered Lyra's words. He took a deep breath, stepped forward, and entered the labyrinth of shadows. Inside, the maze was dark, lit only by faint glowing symbols on the walls. The passages shifted constantly, as if alive. Shapes moved in the corners of his vision, and whispers echoed around him. He could feel the pressure of the court's expectations, as if every step he took was being judged. At first, he stumbled, hitting walls and turning the wrong way. But then he remembered something Lyra had taught him. Humans notice details others overlook. He began to pay attention to small clues, the subtle shifts in the light, the patterns in the glowing symbols. Slowly, methodically, he navigated the maze. Shadows lunged at him. Illusions tried to confuse him, but he remained calm, thinking, observing, adapting. The other contestants, who relied on strength or speed, were caught off guard by the maze's tricks and failed quickly. Finally, after what felt like hours, Ethan reached the center of the labyrinth. A soft light bathed him, and the walls shifted to reveal an open exit. He had completed the first trial. Outside, the court was silent. Even the king's golden eyes showed a flicker of surprise. Ethan turned to see Lyra smiling, proud and radiant. For the first time, the court's mockery faltered, replaced by cautious curiosity. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Ethan practiced, rested, and prepared for the next trial. The court whispered about him now, some skeptical, some intrigued. He had not yet won their respect, but he had shown something they could not ignore. A human could survive. That night, lying on the soft mat in his chamber, Ethan thought about the trials ahead. The labyrinth had been only the beginning. The challenges would grow harder, more dangerous. But he felt a small flame of confidence inside him, a spark that whispered, "I can do this. I will do this. I will prove them wrong." Lyra visited him before dawn. She kissed his forehead lightly. "Tomorrow is the trial of strength," she said. "Remember, it is not just muscle. It is courage, intelligence, and the heart to never give up. That is where humans shine." Ethan nodded, gripping her hand. He was terrified, but he was ready. The court may have mocked him. They may have laughed at a human trying to marry a cat princess. But Ethan was beginning to understand something powerful. Underestimation was humanity's greatest weapon. And when the Alpha trials began in full, he would show them all the truth. And so, as the twin moons set over the palace, Ethan drifted to sleep. The path ahead was dangerous, full of impossible challenges, but he would face them, for Lyra, for himself, for humanity. The court laughed at a human, but the first spark of fear had begun to appear in their eyes. Ethan woke before dawn. His muscles ached from the labyrinth, but he felt alive in a way he had never known. The court had not laughed openly at him today, not completely. Some whispers carried through the palace corridors, curiosity, doubt, and perhaps the tiniest spark of respect. Still, he knew the hardest challenges were yet to come. Lyra entered quietly, carrying a small tray with fresh fruit and a thick slice of bread which she placed beside him. "The trial of strength begins today," she said, her golden eyes serious. "It is not just about lifting or running. It is about endurance, strategy, and courage. You will face creatures, obstacles, and competitors far stronger than you, but I know you can succeed. Humans have a strange way of surviving where others fail." Ethan forced a smile. "I hope so. I really do." The palace corridors led them to the training grounds, a massive arena that seemed to stretch endlessly. The sky was pale green, with two suns casting long shadows over jagged rock formations, pools of steaming water and sprawling forests. Contestants were already gathering. Most were Narkal, tall, lithe, muscles coiled like springs. Their eyes glimmered with confidence, some even with smugness. "Look at him," muttered one noble behind Ethan. "Do you really think that fragile human can compete with us?" Ethan didn't respond. Instead, he focused on the first obstacle, a series of high walls, each taller than a human could climb in one leap. Beyond them, he glimpsed other challenges, a field of shifting boulders, a river crawling with predatory creatures, and a final platform where the strongest of each species would be tested in combat. The horn sounded, low and resonant. The trial had begun. The first challenge was immediate, scaling the walls. The alien contestants leaped gracefully, their claws digging into the rock as if it were soft clay. Ethan tried to mimic them. He failed at first, slipping twice, scraping his palms. The court's whispers reached him even here, faint but sharp. Then he remembered something Lyra had told him. Humans think differently. Where others relied on sheer strength, he relied on improvisation. He found footholds the aliens had ignored, wrapped his arms around the ledges, and used momentum to swing himself upward. Slowly, painfully, he reached the top. Some of the Narkal competitors paused, raising their brows at the human who had somehow matched them. Ethan's chest heaved, his muscles burning, but he didn't stop. The arena's trials were designed to break the body and the mind, and he would not let them break him. Next came the shifting boulder field. Huge rocks rolled and tumbled without pattern, some so heavy that a misstep could crush a contestant instantly. The aliens darted between them, calculating angles with their natural instincts. Ethan studied the rocks for a moment. Instead of matching their leaps, he timed the boulder's rotations and ran along the edges, using small gaps that others ignored. He fell twice, scraping his knees and elbows, but he kept moving. By the end of the field, several alien contestants had been forced out of the trial. Ethan's clothes were torn, his body bruised, but he was still standing. He took a deep breath, ignoring the sting of exhaustion. Then came the river. Its waters were thick, dark, and alive with creatures that hissed and snapped at intruders. Many Narkal hesitated, watching the predators carefully. Humans, he thought, don't always have speed or claws, but we have brains. He waded in slowly, throwing stones to distract the creatures, luring them away from his path. When a creature lunged, he dodged with a twist, leaping onto a floating log and using it as a bridge. By now, the court in the stands was murmuring more seriously. Some eyes that had mocked earlier now looked uneasy. A human had not only survived the labyrinth, but he was also excelling in the trial of strength. outwitting the creatures and navigating obstacles in ways the Narcal had not considered. The final stage of the trial brought them to the combat platform. Contestants were paired to fight one another, but Ethan's final opponent was different. A massive Narcal warrior named Tharion, known across the galaxy for his skill and strength. He towered over Ethan, muscles coiled like steel springs, claws long and sharp. His eyes gleamed with amusement. "You," Tharion said, his voice a low growl. "Do you truly think a human can face me?" Ethan didn't answer. He studied the platform, noting the uneven terrain, loose stones, and the way the light reflected off the metal edges. He could not match Tharion's raw power, but he could move smartly, anticipate, and outthink him. The fight began. Tharion lunged with a claw swipe. Ethan ducked, rolling to the side, using the momentum to kick a loose stone at Tharion's foot. Tharion roared in surprise, stumbling for a moment. Ethan kept moving, dodging, feinting, and using Tharion's weight against him. The court gasped. They had never seen a human move like this. Not raw speed, not strength, but clever, precise, calculated movement. He used every part of the arena, climbing ledges to attack from above, jumping over gaps to avoid being cornered, and even baiting Tharion into striking a column that shook and startled him. Finally, with a carefully timed maneuver, Ethan dodged a massive swing, grabbed a loose chain hanging above the platform, and swung around, using Tharion's momentum to trip him. Tharion hit the ground hard, and the judges called the match. Ethan had won. The crowd fell silent, the court muttering in disbelief. A human had not only survived the trial of strength but had defeated one of the galaxy's most feared warriors. The king's golden eyes narrowed, and for the first time, Ethan saw a flicker of something akin to respect. Lyra ran to him as soon as the trial ended, her golden hair shining in the sunlight. "You did it," she exclaimed, hugging him. "They are beginning to see just a little." Ethan smiled, though he was exhausted. "It's not over," he said. "The final trial is coming, the real one." That evening, as Ethan rested, he thought about the trial of strength. He had relied not on sheer power but on his mind and instincts. Humans may not be the fastest or the strongest, but they were clever, adaptable, and persistent. That combination had carried him this far, and it would carry him further. The next morning brought the trial of leadership, which was even more complex. Contestants had to lead a squad of alien allies through a simulated battle, capturing objectives while avoiding traps and coordinating movements. Ethan's squad consisted of 3 Narcal, each skeptical of him and unwilling to follow a human's orders. From the start, they challenged him, ignoring instructions and trying to prove his incompetence. Ethan took a deep breath and remembered Lyra's words. Humans earn respect by action, not words. He adapted his commands to their strengths, listening to their suggestions while guiding them toward a common goal. Slowly, the squad began to trust him. They realized his strategies, though different from their training, worked. Together, they navigated traps, outflanked the opposing team, and captured the objectives. By the end of the trial, Ethan's team had not only won but done so efficiently, with minimal losses. The court watched, stunned. The whispers grew louder, this time tinged with unease. Humans, they realized, were unpredictable. Their thinking was unlike anything the Narcal had seen. Ethan had survived impossible trials, outsmarted stronger beings, and now led a team effectively. The court's mockery began to falter. That night, Lyra entered his chamber again, her eyes shining with pride. "Tomorrow is the final trial," she said softly. "The Alpha Beast. No one has ever defeated it. It is massive, dangerous, and clever, but I believe in you. Humans succeed where others fail because they never give up. That is your edge." Ethan nodded, though fear gripped him. The Alpha Beast was legendary, spoken of in hushed tones across the galaxy. No one had ever survived an encounter, but he had come this far. He had adapted, outsmarted, and survived. He would not fail now. He lay awake, thinking of the court's laughter when he had first arrived and how far he had come in just a few days. A human, laughed at and underestimated, now stood on the edge of galactic legend. And for the first time, Ethan felt a surge of confidence. He was ready to face the alpha beast. The court had mocked him, underestimated him, and laughed at his human limitations. But they had not yet seen the full measure of what a human could do. The trial of the alpha beast would be the ultimate test, and Ethan would show the court and the galaxy why humans should never be dismissed. Ethan woke before dawn again, his body sore, his mind racing with anticipation. Today was the final trial, the trial of the alpha beast. Stories of this creature had haunted him since he first set foot on Narkal. Massive, cunning, and nearly unstoppable, the alpha beast was the ultimate test of strength, courage, and intelligence. Many had tried and failed. Some had not returned. Lyra came to him, her golden eyes calm but fierce. "This is it," she said softly. "Remember, the beast is dangerous, yes, but it is also predictable in ways most cannot see. Watch, listen, think, and adapt. That is human strength." Ethan nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "I won't let you down," he said. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "I already know you won't." The arena for the final trial was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. The sky was a swirling green and gold, the ground uneven and jagged. Pools of steaming water dotted the landscape, and massive cliffs framed the edges. The beast itself awaited him in the center, a hulking creature covered in black scales, with eyes like molten fire. Its claws were longer than Ethan's height, and its teeth gleamed like sharpened obsidian. The court watched from high above, perched in crystal stands. Whispers ran through the crowd. Some were skeptical, some curious, but all remembered the human's previous successes. Could he truly face the alpha beast? The horn sounded. Ethan stepped forward. The beast roared, a sound that shook the arena and echoed across the palace. It lunged. Ethan dodged instinctively, rolling to the side. The ground trembled under the creature's weight. He realized immediately that brute force would not work. He could not fight the beast head-on. He needed strategy, cleverness, and speed. He remembered everything he had learned, the labyrinth, the trial of strength, the trial of leadership. Humans adapt. Humans survive. The beast circled him, muscles coiled, eyes studying, searching for weakness. Ethan studied it back. He noticed patterns in its movements. When it lunged, it favored its right claw. When it hissed, it telegraphed a spin. Using the terrain, Ethan led the beast toward jagged rocks. He dodged each swipe, guiding it carefully until the creature tripped over a sharp outcropping, crashing heavily. The crowd gasped. He had survived the first encounter, but the alpha beast was far from defeated. It rose, furious, eyes blazing. It pounced faster than he expected. Ethan leapt, grabbing a fallen tree trunk and swinging it to redirect the beast's momentum. The creature crashed into the rock again, roaring in frustration. The court murmured. Whispers of doubt and awe ran through the crowd. A human, small, fragile, underestimated, was holding his own against the alpha beast. Ethan did not celebrate. He knew the beast was smart and it would adapt quickly. He could not rely on luck. He had to think, predict, and exploit its instincts. He remembered the creatures in the trial of strength and how he had used their behavior to his advantage. The alpha beast, like any predator, relied on repetition and overconfidence. Ethan baited it carefully, using himself as a lure, dodging and leading it toward traps he created with the environment. Sharp rocks, loose soil, and fallen logs became his tools. The beast lunged again. This time Ethan feigned a stumble, leading it toward a pile of loose stones. At the last second, he rolled to the side. The beast crashed into the pile, toppling rocks that pinned its legs temporarily. He did not wait. Humans think differently. He struck quickly, using a sharpened branch to wedge its claw in the rock and gain leverage. The arena shook with the beast's rage. It roared, hurling stones and smashing the ground. Ethan kept moving, staying just ahead of its attacks, thinking faster than it could react. Minutes stretched like hours. Sweat and blood ran down his face, muscles screaming, but he refused to falter. Every time the beast adapted, Ethan adapted faster. Every swipe, every lunge, every roar he learned, adjusted, and countered. Finally, he saw an opening. The beast reared, aiming a massive claw swipe at him. Ethan leapt, grabbed a dangling chain nearby, and swung over the creature's back. With a calculated twist, he plunged a sharp rock into a vulnerable spot under its scales. The beast howled, thrashing wildly, but Ethan held on, using leverage and momentum to keep it off balance. The crowd was silent now, holding their breath. No one had ever seen such a battle. A human, small and frail in appearance, had challenged the alpha beast and survived, not by brute force, but by intelligence, courage, and quick thinking. With a final, clever maneuver, Ethan redirected the beast into a pit designed as part of the arena. It fell heavily, unable to climb out. The judges called the trial complete. Ethan had defeated the alpha beast. The silence of the arena broke with a mixture of gasps, cheers, and stunned murmurs. The court, which had mocked him from the start, was speechless. Even the king's golden eyes reflected surprise and respect. Ethan dropped to the ground, exhausted, bloodied, but victorious. Lyra ran to him, her golden hair shining like sunlight. She threw her arms around him. "You did it," she cried. "You human did it." Ethan could barely speak. We did it," he said, nodding toward the beast. "I couldn't have done it without everything I've learned, and without you." The court began to stir, murmuring among themselves. Aliens who had laughed at him now bowed respectfully. The high nobles approached slowly, heads lowered, acknowledging his courage, intelligence, and leadership. The king rose from his throne, his gaze fixed on Ethan. "Human," he said, his voice deep and resonant, "you have achieved what no one thought possible. You have completed the Alpha trials, defeated the Alpha beast, and proven yourself worthy of Princess Lyra and our respect. You are remarkable." Ethan felt a flush of pride. After days of ridicule, exhaustion, and fear, he had done it. He had survived every trial, outsmarted creatures stronger than him, led alien warriors, and faced the ultimate predator, and he had prevailed. Lyra's eyes sparkled with tears of pride and relief. She stepped forward and took his hand. "This court mocked you," she said, her voice carrying across the arena. "They laughed at your human ways, but look at you now. They will never doubt humans again." Some of the nobles whispered, "Perhaps humans are more than we thought." Others nodded, slowly, grudgingly, as respect replaced derision. Ethan smiled, though he was still exhausted. He had not done this for respect, for recognition, or for glory. He had done it for Lyra, for himself, and for humanity. But seeing the court's reaction, he realized something profound. Humans were capable of more than even the most advanced alien species had imagined. That evening, a celebration was held in the palace. Ethan, still bruised and bandaged, walked beside Lyra, who had never looked more radiant. The court, once mocking, now toasted him with respect. Aliens from across Narkle came forward to shake his hand, asking questions about humans, about his strategies, about how he had survived the Alpha Beast. Ethan answered humbly, though inside, he felt a quiet pride. Humans were underestimated, yes, but they had advantages others did not: adaptability, creativity, persistence. And now he had shown it to an entire alien court. The king approached him privately as the celebration continued. "Human," he said, "you have changed our perception. Not just of you, but of your entire species. Humans may be small, but they are formidable in ways we cannot ignore. Princess Lyra is fortunate to have you." Ethan bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will continue to learn and grow. That is what humans do." The king smiled faintly. "Indeed, we shall see what else your kind can accomplish." Days later, as the celebrations died down, Ethan and Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected in the water below and the alien flowers glowed softly in the night. "You were amazing," Lyra said. "The court, the Alpha trials, you conquered them all." Ethan shook his head, smiling. "I only did what humans do best: adapt, survive. Keep going when others give up, that's all." Lyra took his hand, entwining their fingers. "No, you did more than that. You proved that humans are worthy of respect, even among the most advanced species in the galaxy. And you did it with courage, cleverness, and heart. That is extraordinary." Ethan looked at her, at the alien palace, at the court that had once mocked him, and felt a surge of hope. Humanity had come a long way, and this was only the beginning. Perhaps one day, humans would not just survive in the galaxy, they would lead, inspire, and shape its future. For now, he had won the Alpha trials. He had earned the respect of an alien court. He had shown that humans, small and underestimated as they were, could overcome any challenge. And as he stood there with Lyra, he realized that this was more than a personal victory. It was a human victory. The court had mocked a human had won. And the galaxy would never forget I.